What's up, everybody? We got my boy Rohan in the building. Well, we used the wrong intro, but it's all good. But you know what? Rohan doesn't need an intro. I'm sure you guys just saw him with Wayne, but here he is, man. This guy battling fever, flu-like symptoms through the week. Barely has a voice, but he's agreed to come on the show today. I appreciate you so much. What's up, Rohan? How you feeling?
I'm doing good, man. Battling through it. We're good, and we're gonna go on.
Yeah, we gotta go on. So there's been a lot of chatter about the Trent Williams tip and plays. We'll talk about that. But before we get into all that, like, how was your what are your thoughts about the game we just saw? Sunday night football, Niners Chargers. It wasn't a pretty win, but a win's a win, right? How do you feel about that game? What was your overall takeaway?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it wasn't a pretty win. The 49ers left a lot of points on the board. I
Mm.
think that they could have easily clipped 30 points in this game. Went through the film breakdown, just like you said, just before this, and they could have left at least 11 points on on the board in this game. Only 2 of 5 in the red zone. You go 5 of 5. That's a huge swing, but in general, thought that they could have played better. But like you said, a win's a win. They're going to be now above 500, and now they're going to go into Mexico City and play the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, and we got comments here. What's up, everybody? Sad Niner fan says the Cardinals are down bad. Love to see it. They got a lot of issues. Kingsbury doesn't seem to have a grip on this team. Kyler's hurt. Colt McCoy's even dealing with the knee issue. So things are looking pretty good for the 49ers in that aspect. I know the Cardinals are going to go out. They're going to try to go down without a fight. I mean, they're not going to go down without a fight. It's going to be a tough game. We'll get to that. Mexico City, they expect 80% of the fans to be Niner fans. It's going to be a home game. That's crazy,
That's
man.
crazy. That is
That
crazy.
oh my god, and it's a big stadium out there, so it's gonna be a lot of Niner fans. I mean, good night. But speaking of Niner fans, I was at the game, Levi Stadium, and man, it was just such an absolute like vibe. The atmosphere was crazy, and I feel like the Niners are starting to build this home field event. Like Levi's is over the years steadily kind of improving as a stadium. We got a real home field advantage. I mean, wherever they go, they take over. But yeah, we'll see what happens with the next few games. But they got a lot of games at home, right? They're playing like 5 games at home, so definitely a big advantage for the Niners. But I want to go into what you just said before we got into this little convo. You said that they had left a lot of points on the board in the red zone. I was talking about that the other day. What do you feel is the issue? Why aren't they scoring points? And I think if they can figure that out, like you said, they should be scoring 30 points a game. And what is the reason? Why are they not being able to kind of be efficient in the red zone like that? To me, you're right. They left a lot of points on the board. What can they do to fix that issue?
I mean, I went through the red zone issues. There was one poor play call. Uh, I believe in the first opportunity the 49ers had where they had a couple of guys help McGlinchey block, and you only had 2 routes. I don't think that that's acceptable. You can't have only 2 routes on one play, because then they can double cover the overhanging route, which was Debo Samuel running a deep crosser. They double covered that. Ayuk was in one-on-one coverage, but he was pinned to the sideline. He was covered there. Garoppolo threw it out of the end zone. I think you got to mix in the run, but I think you also got to give the passing game an opportunity, because you have so many weapons on that end. And overall, it's honestly just execution, right? If Brandon Ayuk catches that touchdown pass, we're not talking about this, because it's 3 of 5. That's 60%. That's a pretty good red zone mark. And on the play before, if Garoppolo hands the ball off to Debo Samuel on the RPO rather than make the ill-advised throw to Christian McCaffrey, Debo Samuel runs in for a touchdown there.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty good score. I mean, there are a couple of opportunities in this past game. They were getting to the 2-yard line, and they were unable to score twice in 3 opportunities. You got to make sure you score there. Most of it comes down to player execution. There was that one poor play call, but most of it was player execution that needs to improve, that has thwarted the 49ers thus far this season.
Yeah, I agree with that. I feel a lot of it has to deal with how they're executing because again, there's certain plays the Brandon Ayuk drop pass, prime example. You catch that pass, touchdown, easy money touchdown. He routed the cornerback, big time play. You're right, the missed RPO. I mean, there were a few play calls that probably could have been a little different. And I agree. If you're in the red zone, I know they want to run it. They ran 41 times, and I know running is a big key element to their offense. But mix in the pass. You do have guys like Kittle and Debo and all these guys. So I agree with that. Try to mix it
And
up.
real quick, also, sorry, I don't mean to cut you
No, no.
off, but real quick, also, speaking on Kittle, I
Mm-hmm.
do want to see more volume for him in the red zone. We
Yeah.
saw how dominant he was. He catches nice passes. He'll catch contested passes in the
Mm-hmm.
red zone. I do want to see more of that in the red zone. Give him
Yeah.
more opportunities because it's one-on-one. Because there's so many options, so many different options. And
Yeah.
if they bracket Kittle with double coverage, you're gonna have another guy open.
I agree. And I think I think that speaks for the fan base. Everybody wants to see Kittle get involved more. Now, I know a lot of the time he has to help out McGlinchey on that right side. But in the red zone, there's less time, for a defense to come in and blitz and get that edge pressure. Where if you're Kittle one-on-one with the defender, that's easy money. Jimmy can get rid of the ball in 2 seconds, and I feel like you're right. He could take advantage of that opportunity. So I would like to see them use Kittle in the red zone a lot more because he's a guy that, man, if you throw him out there one-on-one with most defenders, 9 times out of 10 he's going to win that matchup. So now going into this whole this week, the big topic's been the tipping plays. Trent Williams. Let me pull the picture. Obviously, Jesse. We all know Big Jesse out there on Last Minute Sports. He's been doing a great job. He's brought this to a lot of people's attention, right? He's tipping plays. They talked about this after the Chicago week. I think Grant Cohn brought it up a few weeks ago, right after a game. And pick
Yeah.
one, right? Run game or run play, right, where he doesn't drop his foot back. And then when he drops his foot back, people are saying that it's obviously a pass play. So everybody's talking about this, and there's definitely some concern of saying, okay, if everybody's seeing this film, and they're going to figure it out, they can like read the play and then blow up the play, and not necessarily on Trent. He's still going to do his job. Like Lombardi tweeted out that he talked to him. He's been doing it his whole career. There's been a lot of players. Emmanuel Acco, he said it doesn't matter because you need a lot of time to be able to relay the play. A lot of former offensive linemen have kind of joined the conversation. It doesn't matter. For Trent, it definitely doesn't matter because he's a beast. You still have to get past him. But does it matter for the rest of the team, the teammates, right? Will it bring their play down? So what's your take on the whole tipping plays? I talked about this earlier with Wayne this morning, but I want to get your take on it.
I mean, first of all, I want to say this. I confirm what Jesse said. We had a good conversation that day. He is tipping plays. Like,
Yeah.
I could guess every single play. I went back the second he dropped that. I went back and I saw in this past game, I could guess every single play. In the first, after the first, 2 or 3 plays where he was just getting into it, I could guess every play based on his stance. And then you go back to previous games, he does the same thing. Colton McKivitz in week 4, I went back and watched the one game without him. Colton McKivitz doesn't do that. Colton McKivitz he's got a similar stance regardless.
Yeah.
Now, does it matter? To me, I haven't seen any evidence right now that it does matter.
Okay.
That's my take on it. Can it matter in the future? Yeah, or yes. But right now, I haven't seen any evidence that it does matter. The 49ers running game has been running well. The offensive line has been blocking better than before. They have been, blocking better than last year. The offensive line has worked. 49ers running game has worked. Numbers have been up as well. And Trent Williams himself, despite that fact, has executed at a very high level. So to me, right now, it does not matter. However, can this improve in weeks in later weeks? I'm sure that teams could start altering their game plan in a way. But in my opinion, I think teams come into the game with the knowledge of what Trent Williams does and still hasn't been able to make it a huge difference in the game. That's
Yeah.
my takeaway on it, and that's why I think that even though Williams is tipping plays, I don't think that it has had a huge impact, especially a negative impact on the 49ers.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. Like, yes, he's obviously tipping plays. You can all go back in the film that's been provided. Jesse did an episode on it. He talked about it, he showed it, and it's pretty obvious. And like you said, you go back, you can watch McKivitz, and he was in the same stance regardless, runner play and runner pass. But for Trent, and again, I was reading with a lot of these offensive linemen. They said like it's very common. You want to put yourself in a position to get a mechanical advantage, and Trent dropping his foot back, it's just how he does it. It gives him that advantage. He puts him in a good leverage spot, and the defender's not going to be able to push him over. He's been doing it for years, and for Trent, it's not a big idea. And I like what you said, and this is what I said this morning, that in the short term, yeah, it's not going to be an issue because teams got to be able to know the play, and if they guess wrong, then they're really screwed, right? So they have to be able to, without a shadow of a doubt, be able to guess the play, relay it, and be able to kind of put themselves in a position. And yeah, obviously, if it's a run or pass play, you're probably not going to beat Trent, but you can stuff the right side and beat McGlinchey. Where it will affect them, I think, like you said, maybe in the long term. Let's say they get to a playoff game. Let's say they get to a Super Bowl, and there's a lot more time to prepare for the 49ers, and you grind that film for 2 weeks, right? Let's say it's Super Bowl, you're playing the Chiefs, and they have 2 weeks to grind that film. Then I think it'll matter because you're isolating yourself and you're looking and you're studying so much more. When it's a week to week basis, you're just coming off the game, you have a day off, you got your 3 practices, you're not going to be focusing on the film as much that week. So I don't think it's going to be as easy to read the play and figure it out. Like there might be a small percentage where it may affect a few games here and there, like in the short term, but I think it's more so in the long term. But again, I don't think there's really any evidence that says it's caused them any games or anything. So it's hard to say that it has. There's no evidence. But again, I definitely think he is. I definitely think it's something to look into. It's good conversation. But for the people that say it doesn't matter, I think it does to an extent for the long term of the season. But it doesn't affect Trent. He's still a beast, and you got to knock him out. I think it does have a little bearing on the rest of the team.
I think it can have a bearing right on the rest of the team. The rest of the team, it doesn't play to the caliber of Trent Williams, right? It could have a bigger impact on them than it
Mm-hmm.
does to Williams when that does occur. That's why, in a way, it's a wait and see. Does
Yeah.
this end up having a negative impact? But for now, I can only speak on what I've seen and what I know currently, and that is that I don't believe that it has had an impact on the 49ers yet, at least not a massive impact to where you could actually point it out. I think they've still played well. I think the offensive line has played better than last year,
Yeah.
or at least played better in general. Maybe not as good as last year, but well in general. And the run game has flourished enough. So to me, I think that 49ers still are in a good shape. We'll see if or how that changes later on.
Yeah, I agree with that. As far as, again, right now it's more of a wait and see approach. Will this really impact them? We don't know. We don't know if it's made too much of an because, again, if Trent says he's been doing this his whole career, and obviously a lot of players saying they've been doing this their whole career too, like this is commonplace. Nobody noticed it until all of a sudden, um, until this week, right? When all of a sudden everybody's starting to point it out. They did the film study. So if it's all of a sudden this thing where everybody's like, oh my God, he's been tipping his play. Maybe he's been doing it his whole career, like he said, and it hasn't impacted him. So until we see that, yes, for a shadow of like they know the plays, they know exactly what's happening. I don't think it's a big deal until that, comes to fruition. But again, like you said, I think you hit the nail on the head. It is a wait and see kind of issue here. We're just not going to be like something where you're going to find out just right away. So it is going to be wait and see. And I don't know. I think in the short term, again, like you said, I don't know if it really has an impact right now because again, from what Trent Williams just says, he's done it his whole career and he's been a 9-time Pro Bowler. So we'll see, man. But if anything, if it does have an impact, maybe it is that right side because people know that Mike's a little bit of a liability out there in pass protection. So let's talk about Mike McGlinchey a little bit. What do you think about Mike? I know he gets a bad. I mean, he's being dragged through Twitter. You've seen the videos, and when he makes a bad
Oh yeah.
play, when it's a bad play, I mean, it's like on a grand scale. People are
Everyone
mad
will
about
know that Mike McGlinchey made that bad play.
yeah, it's bad. If it's a good play, people are like, oh, well, you're going to have every dog has its day. What's your overall assessment on Mike McGlinchey this year?
I think it's an interesting assessment. I mean, Mike McGlinchey hasn't been great. I can't say that. I can't come up here and defend him and say he's this certain gem in the water that everybody's missing. He has his bad plays. I do think that his bad plays are amplified because they come at inopportune times rather than some other players where it may come just here and there. His come at bad times.
Hmm.
But I do also think Mike McGlinchey makes good plays. I think in this game he had a couple of good plays against Khalil Mack. We saw
Yeah.
on the film itself. I just think he's too inconsistent.
Yeah.
I think at this point he has it. He especially in pass protection, his footwork is still inconsistent in pass protection.
Hmm.
I still think that he's up and down. The problem is you don't know what to expect with Mike McGlinchey on a week to week basis. He's still learning, and I think he's still got to improve mentally, not
Yeah.
only physically but also mentally in the mental game in getting himself ready for the games. And so that's why I still think that Mike McGlinchey is probably playing his last season as a 49er, both for play reasons, but also because he'll want a long-term contract, a multi-year contract. And I don't think the 49ers will give him that in the offseason. So I do think that he's playing in a contract year on his way out. And I think that Mike McGlinchey has his good moments that people definitely don't point out enough, but
Hmm.
is too inconsistent on a week-to-week basis.
I agree. And I think that's the take I've had is it's inconsistent. It's, yeah, he has had some good plays, but if you're a top 10 pick in the NFL draft, right, you need to have more moments that are you have to have like dominating moments, and he just hasn't had that. And we know he's struggled in pass protection through his whole career. Like it's not improved, and that's something that is alarming. Is okay, you've been in this league for several years now. You were a first round pick. I don't see any improvement in that aspect. You're like, yeah, you're right. He has good moments, but when he has bad moments, it comes in like the most inopportune time. Like there's never a good moment for a bad play, but his just seemed to come at like a very, very like important juncture in the game. So I agree. He is on a contract season, and I feel like a lot of it is mental. He comes up, he probably opens the Bird app, he sees all the hate on Twitter. He's dealing with an injury he's had to come back, which was a pretty tough injury, if you ask me. And he knows he's trying to play for a contract, and I don't think he'll be back. And I think he knows it, and he's just trying to do his damn best. And his best is not good enough for everybody out there. And I think inconsistency is definitely the word to describe Mike. And unfortunate for him, I don't think he'll be back. But I think they're going to allow him to continue to play
Oh
and
yeah.
put his best foot out there. And they're going to continue to let him put film out there because this is a front office that cares about their players. And they're going to say, hey, look, put your best foot forward, put as much game on the film, or put as much, film on tape for us and yourself. And this offseason, teams will look at it and somebody will pay you because you're going to put out the best film that you can put. But we're not going to bring you back.
Yeah, I think Mike McGlinchey is the best option at right tackle for the
Yeah.
remainder of the year,
Yeah.
regardless of what you've seen thus far. I don't
Yeah.
think that could be an argument. I think he will be the starter for the remainder of the year. I just think the 49ers probably move on,
Yeah.
for the reasons I said afterwards.
I agree. I agree. I don't think that McKivitz would be a better right tackle. Maybe he'd be just as good. And Brunskill to me is a better guard. And I just don't see him being a better right tackle. Like it would probably be a wash. Honestly, it'd probably be a wash between those two. And Jalen Moore, I don't think he'd be better. So right now, your best option is Mike McGlinchey. But next year, they'll definitely upgrade at the right tackle position. Yeah, I agree. So, let's talk about real quick Arizona. Um, what are your thoughts? So Kyler definitely looks tough. It looks like he may not play, hamstring issue. Colt McCoy
Yeah.
might be the starter, but he's got a knee issue. Cardinals kind of look like they're losing hope, man. I don't know. I think the Niners should come out with this at least a 10-point win. I don't know. What do you think?
I think it's definitely it's going to be a very interesting game. If Kyler Murray does play, I think that does change the landscape of it, especially because Marquise Brown is expected to return, and
Mm,
so that could be a fairly prolific offense, right? Uh, against obviously the 49ers because Murray's legs have been an issue in the past. He's a mobile quarterback, and the 49ers have struggled with mobile quarterbacks in containing them. But you also have a strong wide receiver one, a strong wide receiver two, and then a shifty wide receiver three in Rondale Moore. If there is no Marquise Brown, Hopkins is obviously a threat, but then it's AJ Green and Rondale Moore, and I think that does pose a different threat for sure. And
Yeah.
also, the offensive line is not great there
No.
in Arizona, and that plays to the 49ers strengths.
Yeah, Nick Bosa might have a big day come Monday night. I think he might have a soy fiesta on Monday night if everything goes well because you're right. O line has been porous, and again we don't know if Kyler's there. Regardless of who's quarterback, Bosa's going to have a long night. And I mean I think Hopkins definitely is a guy that we have to be worried about. He's come back at a very high level, and he's a great receiver. So Rondale Moore definitely gives him a ability if he's there, and Marquise Brown if they have all three of them it'll definitely be a tough draw. I mean, compared to if they don't have Marquise Brown, because I mean, the secondary right now with the Niners is still in flux. I mean, you still got Jimmy
Right.
Ward playing nickel cornerback. Diamador Lenore still playing that outside too, and obviously you got Charvarius who's played great, but they're not going to throw towards Mooney Ward's side. So you got those younger guys have to step up. What do you think about Jimmy Ward? Should he be thrown back at safety? I don't know. I know there's been a lot of talk nickel cornerback. What's your situation? What's your talk on the situation? I've talked about this all week, but I want to get your take. Jimmy Ward, nickel cornerback.
I mean, I've been a strong advocate for Jimmy Ward returning to free safety. I think he's the best free safety on the team, and I think he should place him where he's most comfortable. The only question after that is who do you trust enough to play at the nickel if you move Jimmy Ward? Because obviously the easy answer is moving Lenore back in, but then who plays on the outside? You won't trust Samuel Womack. I think that he's just not tall enough,
Yeah.
and you already saw the experiment against the Atlanta Falcons not work out as well on the outside. Is it Ambry Thomas? 49ers don't trust him,
No.
right? So who else is there? So the question is, you just don't have availability. I
Okay.
mean, you don't have those guys there. So unless they sign somebody else, I don't know. Could it be Dante Johnson? Dante Johnson could play in the nickel. That could be an option. That's probably the option that I would go with, having Johnson in the nickel and then having Ward play in the back end and having him roam around and be the versatile player that he is. But at the moment, it does sound like Ward will continue to man the slot for the remainder of the year.
Yeah, and I agree. And again, that's not his position. He's a 9-year vet. Like for him to go back to nickel and try to adjust, it's tough. But I think you're right. It's more of necessity where he's probably the best fit player at that nickel spot on who they have, right? Because I don't think Gibson would be able to play um, the nickel spot. But
Yeah, I don't think he's a good big nickel.
he's not a big nickel, right? So he's not like the best free safety. Obviously, Ward would be the better option, but it's not like Gibson's been horrendous. He hasn't been horrible. Obviously, though, he has taken a little dip from the start of the season. But you would be very you'd be in a worse shape if you put Gibson in at the nickel. You'd be probably worse off. So I guess Jimmy Ward, just like Mike McGlinchey, is your best option at right tackle. I guess Jimmy Ward is your best option at nickel, and I think that's what they're looking at. And it sucks, but these are issues they're going to have to look at in the offseason. If in order to improve, nickel's got to be something they look at, or free safety. Because if Jimmy Ward doesn't come back, you got a free safety, you got nickel, and then obviously right tackle, and then center. Who are they going to figure out
Yeah.
to be center? So I think they definitely know what they have to figure out in the offseason, but right now, there's nothing you can do, and they got to put their best players on the field.
Mhm. No, I agree. I agree.
So we'll see, man. I definitely think that it's not a perfect lineup. The injuries have hurt them, but they're pushing through 5-4. I think they're bound to go on a run here. I think they're very close to go on a run. If they beat Arizona, man, first place in the NFC West after a tough start. So first place in the NFC West, man, that'll be pretty impressive right now coming in. After a few weeks ago, people wrote them off, especially after that Chiefs game. People were saying it's done, season's over, season's over, man. So it'll be nice, man.
That's just 49er fans for you. Just
That's
the week to week kind of dilemma that we have.
It is week to week, man. And with the moment we lose, it's the end of the world. If we win, we're the best team in the world. So
Yeah.
that's how it goes, man. Rohan, man, I know your voice is killing you. I don't want to keep it too long, man. You got anything else you got for me? Any other questions or concerns or anything
Nah,
like
I
that?
think it was a good show. Think obviously thank you for having me. I understand the voices like this. I know next time, guys, voice is gonna be all healed up. We're gonna be better. But Raj, yeah, appreciate you having me on, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you always. I want you to get some rest, drink a lot of tea and some hot water, man, and get that voice back. We want you to feel better. I know you got it. You've been grinding.
Hey, you the doc. You the
Yeah,
doc.
that's it. I appreciate you, my man.
All right, I'll see you guys later.
All right,
Appreciate
take care.
everybody in the chat.
Yes, sir. Big Rohan, man, go get and follow my boy, man. He's always a real one out there. So I wanted to bring him in, get some uh some insight from him on some of these questions. But I'm gonna fire out some questions. You guys go ahead. I'm gonna open it up to the Niner fans. Take some questions and we'll talk a little bit. I got about another 10, 15 minutes we can kill. So let's do a little bit more. Drop some questions. Let's do it, baby, and we'll go to it. So tea and water, 100%. J Real. That's the key. That's the cream, man. We love Rohan. We want him to get better. That's the man. Appreciate you. Appreciate you guys. Uh, Nicholas says, do we have more pass or rush touchdowns this week? I think that we're gonna have a lot of rush touchdowns. I mean, it's a rush to 41. You had 41 rushes, 41, and I can't see another pattern unless they go crazy and throw the play actions and throw all over them. But I think the Niners are going to continue to run the ball and run the ball effectively. This is what their team does: is run the ball. They're bullies, man. They're bullies. You got CMC, you got Debo, you got Elijah Mitchell, you got that orbit motion. It's crazy, and I think Shanahan's going to continue to learn how to utilize all these guys together. And I feel like that's what it is. They're still trying to figure things out. CMC's been on this team for 3 games, well, 2.5 really. And then you got George Kittle missed a few games early in the season. Debo's missed some games this year, or a game this year, and he started off a little slow. Brandon Ayuk's been the most consistent guy because he's been healthy. Elijah Mitchell's missed time, so everybody needs to gel together. And Jimmy's got to figure out how to use all these weapons together. So I think they're going to continue to get better on offense. So let's see. Debo needs more looks. Jr. I think it's just more of Kyle trying to figure out how to get everybody involved. There's a lot of mouths to feed, man, and you got to figure it out. Sometimes you got that many mouths to feed, they're not all going to get equal portions, or you might take a little bit more time to get one person fed than the other one. So I just think it's a matter of time and figuring out how to get everybody the distribution, because there's going to be times where Debo doesn't get a lot, but he's going to be there doing the little things, blocking, being a decoy, and then just sometimes execution, like Rohan said, the little things is executing. Can you make the small little play? Like they missed some RPO plays there, right? There was some RPO plays they missed. There was the missed block by McGlinchey in the red zone. There was a drop pass by Ayuk. Just small things. I think it's a matter of time. But again, some of these players are not going to have a superstar game every game. Like CMC in Carolina, he was their weapon. He put the team on his back. Now with the Niners, he's on the sideline sometime going, am I just riding this one out? What's going on? Like CMC doesn't have to be the superstar player that he was. You got a collection of superstars. It's like we said earlier on the IG show, it's a dream team. It's really a dream team, right? Jay Real says the Commanders ran the ball in the Eagles 48 times. 48 times. And that is the key to beating the Eagles, being a bully. Bully ball, smash them in the mouth. This is what we said on Monday night after the game. The Niners are the prime team to play the Eagles. If the Niners match up against the Eagles in the playoffs, it's a great matchup because we are a bully. We can smash them in the mouth. The Niners are probably the best team in the playoffs, or the best built team for the playoffs, because they run the ball. Nobody's going to want to play the Niners because they're physical, they hit you hard, and they're going to bloody your nose. And when it's cold in January and you got to play a team that's going to hit you hard, those hits sting a little bit longer. So that's a dangerous team. Dangerous team. S Flood, what happened with Huff on the blown coverage on the first touchdown last week? I think he just did read it wrong. He's an instinctual player, and he goes on instincts. And I feel like he just definitely was out of place, and he was trailing because he missed the read. And you know what? He did make up for it. And that's, we did talk about this during the week, is the thing about Hufanga is, yeah, okay, he made the bad play. He got beat, made the wrong read, and his instincts were wrong, but he stayed with it and he didn't let that mess him up. And he came back and he got the most critical play of the game. He got the game sealing interception, critical junction of the game. Boom. He said, good night. I'm ending the game. That's a Mamba mentality, man. This is a guy that is tough. It's like you make a mistake. What do you do to fix it? It's like the quarterbacks, right? Like quarterback mentality is, okay, I'm going to go to make a mistake. I threw an interception. I need to bounce. I got to shake it off, go out there and continue to drive the ball and lead and score touchdowns, right? That's what Hufanga has. He made a mistake. He stayed with it, and he kept playing until he made the big moment of the game. So, yeah, it was rough, but he's going to make a few bad, instinctual calls because that's the type of guy he is. He's leading with trying to read the plays. Hufanga is such an intellectual type of player. Like his football IQ is unbelievable. You're not always going to make the plays right. You're not always going to make the call right. And that goes back to, okay, Trent Williams tipping the plays, like we talked about in this show. Trent Williams, right? You read oh God, the foot's back, his foot back. It's a pass play, right? Now the defense has to read that. You might read it wrong. Like even though you know it's a pass play, you don't know where the hell players are lined up. You don't know what their route is going to be. So to an extent, yes, tipping plays, going back to that, it might hurt this team, but there's so much that goes involved. Like, okay, you might know it's pass play. There's about 1,000 pass plays. Do you think you're going to figure out which one it is? Like, yeah, I know you can load the right side of the box. The Niners, they're still got to execute. And then the defense, you still got to stop them. You still got to make the stop. Even if you know what's coming, you still got to go out there and stop them. So, yeah, VZ says, not only did he make up for it, he sealed the game for us. So, balling like he born. Jay says, I doubt the Eagles are thinking of us. Probably not right now, but they will be soon. Very soon, they will be. Sacktown says, the fans need to show up to Levi's with feed Kittle. The only problem with that is, again, we've talked about it, Kittle's right tackle 2.0. Kittle has to hold McGlinchey's hand. He's right tackle 2.0. He has to block a lot. All right, that's the key. Is there a time frame for Armstead returning? Not yet. No time frame. Kyle did say, he hopes that he's back soon, but there's no exact time frame. He's got 2 foot injuries, hairline fracture to the left, plantar fasciitis to the right. There's no exact time frame. Hopefully he comes back soon, maybe closer to the playoffs. We don't know. There's no time frame for Javon Kinlaw as well. Kyle Shanahan did shut him down for this week. He says he will not play. He was eligible to come back off the IR this week, but he will not do that. Also, they had to travel to Mexico this week. Probably not a smart idea with the elevation, and they're in Colorado right now practicing and preparing for that. That high elevation is probably not good for Kinlaw's knee. It would cause it to swell up some more. So Kinlaw's not going to play this week. So unfortunate. They're still dealing with injuries. The D-line is been kind of ravaged this year, but I got to say, Jordan Willis stepped up this week. Charles Menahu, phenomenal. Kerry Hyder played pretty good. So they've been, stepping up. And Nick Bosa came out and played an MVP type game. I'll tell you what, Nick Bosa's mic'd up, changing topics. Nick Bosa's mic'd up. Golden. They need to mic this man up every single week. Every single week. This man's a hilarious. We say George Kittle's a national treasure. Nick Bosa's a national treasure. He's so funny. S. Flood says, Levi's was crazy. Been several times before. Never seen energy like that. I said the same thing myself after the game. I remember saying, like, just out in the moment, I'm like, God, man, this place is an absolute vibe. Levi Stadium is crazy right now. Like, I feel it is a huge home field advantage they're building. The Niner fans are going crazy. Like, I've never lost my mind so much in a Levi Stadium. I've been to a lot of games. I had a headache because it was so loud. Like, it was great. It was a good headache because it was so many fans just like so hyped, so loud and amazing. So you're right, Flood. Levi Stadium is becoming a big time home field advantage for this team. Love it, man. That's a saccaroni. Yeah, have y'all seen the clip of Bosa in the huddle? I posted that today. It was funny. He goes, Fred Warner's like, all right, he says this thing, and then, Nick Bosa just looks at the camera. Couldn't agree more. So funny. He's so chill. He just Like a surfer guy. Just yeah, couldn't agree more. You know how hard it is to get a sack, he says. You know how hard it is to get a sack? I just want to go and get a sack. It's funny, man. Nick Bosa is so funny. Got good energy. Love the guy. He's a good leader. Like also too, in that mic'd up, you just see him hyping everybody up. Like, oh, come on, man. Come on, Aziz. Come on, my guy. Let's go, Fred. Make a play. Oh, come on, Charles. Like he was hyping him up. Like I know he's a captain, and people are like, oh, he doesn't talk enough. He's not a true like. How do he be a captain? Because he's so chill. He was doing a really good job of like getting everybody hyped and like giving them motivation. I was like, damn, Bosa's a really good captain. You could just see why they picked him as a captain. He truly is a good leader. You know, that's a good way to put it, Nicholas, is he's the calmest hype man ever. He was hyping him up, bro. He was hyping him up, but he did it in like a very calm way. He wasn't in their face. He was just like, "Yo, what's up, man? Let's make a play. Let's go out there. Come on, Aziz, my guy." And he goes up to Debo. He goes, "Oh, nice drip, Debo." He goes, "You gonna wear that for the game?" He's like, "Sheesh." I love Bosa, man. He's the man. Oh, he's the man, dude. He's so cool, dude. You gotta love Nicky B, man. Dude's good. He's gonna get paid this off season. That boy deserves his bag. Give that man the bag. Give that man everything he wants. Blank check. Write a blank check, baby, and hand it to him. I love that guy. He's so good. So good, man. 9 pressures. He was living in the backfield. The guy was a monster. Monster. And the end of the mic'd up clip, he goes, I hope I got some content for you. He knew what he was doing. He's so funny. He's funny, man. I love Nick Bosa. But, yeah, any questions here? I got a couple more minutes, so any more questions here? Let's see. Francisco says, what's the word on Greenlaw for the game against Cardinals? We don't know. So Thursday, tomorrow, the team returns back to practice, and we'll see what the actual word is going forward. So the team finally gets back to practice tomorrow. I think Greenlaw should be able to play. We don't know. I don't think he'll be suspended. Kyle Shanahan talked about it. He says he doesn't feel that Greenlaw is going to be suspended. He'll probably be fined, but I don't think he's going to be suspended. We'll find out tomorrow a little bit more as practice starts. And then Saturday is typically the day where the NFL issues out fines and things like that. And so we'll know on Saturday if he's going to be fined or anything. But I don't think Greenlaw will be fined. I mean, or suspended. I think they'll fine him, which is stupid. I mean, he shouldn't have been ejected in the first place, but I do not think they're going to suspend him. God, it was so bad. Nicholas says, I think he's going to even do better on Monday night, which is Bosa. I think he is too. And this is another player that I've talked about during the season is Nick Bosa has to have like big games. He has to deliver on prime time. And that was the type of game Nick Bosa needed to have on a big game. And not because he needed to prove anything. It's because if he wants to win Defensive Player of the Year and this team wants to win, he's got to be the best player on the field. And he was, man, 100%. So good out there, man. He crushed it. And that's what I want to see out of the Bear, man. You want to see him be tearing it up out there. So. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're going to fine him. I'm pretty sure they're going to fine him. So. I don't think he'll be suspended. That's my final takeaway of it. I don't think he'll be suspended, but I think they'll fine him. Let's see. I'll take a few more questions here before we head out. Again, hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe and appreciate you guys. You guys are always the best. The chat is always a good vibe. So I'll be on Instagram a little later. I got some stuff I'm working on Instagram. I guess they have like subscribers like they do on YouTube. And they have this thing where you can do a game day chat and all that stuff. So I'm going to look into that, try to set that up. That'd be pretty dope. Only downfall is I guess you got to pay for it, but it's a pretty cool service. We got a big support system. We got a big following out there. And I think a lot of the fans would be hyped up to do some type of game chat. So we'll look into it. I'll definitely keep you guys posted on that. So we'll see what happens. Let me take a look at these comments, see if there's any more questions on here. Oh, Sackdown says, do you think Kittle will get more than just one reception? I think they'll have a pretty decent game. I think he's going to be I think Kittle will have a nice little game there on Monday Night Football. I feel like Kittle will get a touchdown. He's due for one. He's, every once in a while, throw the dog a bone. I think they're going to come out and throw Kittle a touchdown. We'll see. We'll see what happens. So We'll see. Appreciate you, Durant, Nicholas. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate everybody. Debbie Omenahu. What about Omenahu? He was a baller. He's very underrated. I think that's a guy that we can't afford to lose this offseason, but we might. That's a guy that's been really good. He's in a contract year. You know, they traded for him last year. And Omenahu, man, I really like the guy. He's been an unsung hero every week, man. He's grinding out there. He's been putting out a lot of big time games out there. So he might get paid pretty well. And that's credit to Chris Kasurik, right? D-line coach Chris Kasurik is so good. He's done a great job developing these D-linemen, and he's probably going to get paid. Samson Ebukam and Charles Omenahu are both guys that are going to be free agents this year, and I don't know if they're going to be able to keep them both. They might keep one, but I don't know if they'll keep both. So we'll see. They might keep the cheaper one, or they might keep the one that's a little bit more expensive. But we'll see who's going to be more expensive. Probably the way he's going right now, Omenahu. But Ebukam has been nice with it too. He's been pretty, underrated himself. So, yeah, I like that guy. Nicholas Durant says, excluding Bosa, who will have a hot game on the D-line? Well, we just talked about Charles Omenahu. That guy's been unstoppable out there. Him and Bosa have been killing it, man. I really think that's another guy. That's the guy that right now has just taken that spot he's at and become a force with Nick Bosa. So if it's not Nick Bosa, look for Omenahu to have another nice game. And, I like Jordan Willis. He came back this week. He was a very underrated player. He had a really nice game. Came back, had a sack in his first game back. So Jordan Willis, a little bit of an unsung hero. But if I'm going to pick one guy that's going to have a nice little game next to Bosa, it's going to be Charles Omenahu. So, yeah. Classard says, don't sleep on the return of Jordan Willis. I'm telling you, don't sleep. Don't sleep. That was his first game back, and Jordan was really nice with it. So definitely welcome back, Jordan. We needed that guy. We needed a kick in the, a little injection shot for us, a little shot in the arm, a little boost, because Armstead hasn't been there. And in Kinlaw, we needed somebody to come in and, inject some life into this defense. And he really helped out, especially also without Samson Ebukam. So the guy really stepped up. I like what I saw out of him. And you know what? Drake Jackson, the rookie, he makes the most of his opportunities. I really like what I see out of Drake Jackson. He's got his third batted pass of the year. This guy's a monster. Like, he's got a knack. He knows. Just put my hands up. Good instincts. Drake Jackson, great instincts. I like what I see out of Drake Jackson. Fun player. Really good. Love the guy. He's going to be a phenomenal player. But in any case, that's it for tonight. You guys have a good night. One last question. I think Francisco Martinez says, when is Ebukam coming back? Hopefully this week. We don't know. He had the quad injury. He's been dealing with an Achilles. Again, practice starts again tomorrow. We'll get updates. Hopefully Ebukam is back this week, but we don't know. There's no exact time frame. And with that, I'm going to leave you guys. Hope you have a good rest of your night. Appreciate the support. Hit the like button. Let's go Niners. Another day closer to Monday Night Football. You guys stay blessed. Enjoy yourselves. I love you. Stay safe. Bang, bang. Not again.